If you're looking for a different way to check for student understanding, you may want to use the website ActivePrompt. ActivePrompt, URL activeprompt.herokuapp.com, allows you to put a picture up onto the site, and I'm in the student view right now, you would share the link with the student, and this is what they would see. For example, if you were studying the periodic table, this is an image of the periodic table, you would ask a question, and the student would take their red dot that they have and drag it onto the correct, what they would say as the correct answer. Another example would be, for example, maybe you were studying the United States. In this case, the picture is kind of big, so I'm going to use the command and the minus sign to make it a little bit smaller. But the same thing, maybe you're asking a question and you want the students to indicate a specific state, they just drag the dot. Now, as the teacher, you get to see where all the dots are, and I'll explain in a little more detail. First of all, if I go to ActivePrompt website, and the first thing it's going to do is ask me to upload an image. Now, notice there's no sign-in for this. I'm not registering or anything like that. So I can go and find a picture that I may have saved and include that onto my screen. So this particular one that I did was actually a screenshot of a table that I had. Then you can write a prompt, which that means at the bottom of the screen it's going to put a question. But what I found is I've put pictures up there that I want to ask several questions, so I just ignore the write a prompt part. Then this is the link that you would share with your students. So if you have a quick way to get links out, for example, maybe posting on Edmodo or something like that, this is what they would go to, and they would see the picture. So as an example, I will copy and paste that address in so you can see what it looks like. So again, I just had a table with some words on it to maybe review some vocabulary. And the student, as I asked the question, the student would drag the dot into the correct spot. As the teacher, it gives you a link to see their responses. So I'm going to open that up so you can see what that would look like. Now in this particular example, I only see one dot because only one other person, myself, is on there, but you would see all of the dots of all the students. So if I go back as a student again and move this over to volume, and then I come back to my teacher view here, it's over on volume. Again, I would see lots of dots on here if I had a lot of students doing this. Now, a couple of tricks to this. If I leave this screen projected for all the students to see, then it will be natural for students to follow each other. So if they saw that one dot was going over to volume, then they may all drag their dot over there. So what you could do instead is to put your screen onto something else while you're asking the question. So for example, I have done the three-finger swipe where I have brought this up on my screen while I'm asking the question, and then when I think people have answered, then I just swipe back and then I see where all the responses are. Now, a disadvantage of this, a couple of disadvantages of this. One is it does not lock it in place. So if the student changes their mind as soon as you swipe the screen over, that dot's going to move. Something else, and this is just human nature, whether you're dealing with kids or adults, they're all going to want to just wiggle those dots all over the place, and you almost have to let them try that and get it out of their system so that they can see what that's like. There's something about dragging that dot all over that's intriguing. So you can see that this is fairly easy to use. You simply, again, go to the activeprompt.herokuapp.com website. If you aren't, you can also Google this as well. You upload an image, write a prompt if you want to, give a link to your students, and then you go to this link yourself, right? It's an easy way to check for understanding on things, to see what students know. Other ideas of how you may use this. We talked about, groups of words here, but you could also do, for example, a room. One example somebody said in our training was, for example, in Spanish class, where you take a picture of a room, and then the teacher could ask in Spanish where something specific was, and the student would put their dot on the particular item, and that perhaps could be used in lower grades as well. In science, maybe you're studying parts of something, whether it be parts of the body, parts of the cell, and if you had a picture and you wanted to know if students knew where things were, you could have the picture and again have them put their dot on something, whatever you indicated that would be. So again, it's very quick to see group understanding. Probably a few of the drawbacks, one I already mentioned, is that you can't lock the dots into place, and it also does not reveal individual results. So you can't tell if one specific student is struggling, but it's more of a group picture overall. Do I feel like my class is understanding this? If the majority are not getting their dots in the right spot, then you know you need to do some reteaching, or maybe narrow it down and defining more individual results. So consider giving active prompt a try.